Welcome to Marriage in God's Hands. I'm Alonzo Smith, and this is my lovely wife, June. We have been married for 33 years, and we have been working with families around the world as we help them to negotiate their lives to make home happier and better. We would like to talk today about families that are having problems. So our topic is when your marriage is in trouble. June, do you think that we have marriages that are in trouble these days?
Unfortunately, too many. The challenge, however, is that there are some people who don't admit that their marriage is in trouble. I've had so many women that say to me, we're having problems and we need to go get help, but my husband refuses because he does not think we're having a problem. Or I've had husbands who say, we're having problems. I'm about to walk away. I've invited my wife to come to get help, but she refuses because she doesn't think we have a problem. She thinks I am the problem.
Okay, as two clinicians, let's see if we can diagnose the problem. If I should say the following statement to you, what might be your response? Your marriage is in trouble when each partner gets agitated very easily.
If the agitant is perceived to be caused by or imposed by one of the parties, then yes, there is a problem.
Okay. Your marriage is in trouble when one partner shuts down emotionally.
That happens frequently. When individuals get frustrated or when they think they have done everything they have control or power over and nothing seems to be working, then they just give up. It's almost like, you know, the computer shuts down. Their emotions just go bland.
Your marriage is in trouble when one partner is overcritical, very critical and sensitive, and makes an issue over everything.
That clearly indicates problems. While you should be open to feedback and you should certainly be able to communicate effectively, if you're only criticized or criticizing, then that's not a good thing.
Your marriage is in trouble when one partner feels stretched out. I have reached my limit. I've done my best. I don't think there's any more I can do for this marriage, and I am tired of trying.
That must be such a sad state to get, because a marriage is designed to be a happy union, to be a harmonious relationship. And if you get to a point in your relationship where you give up, or you think you have done everything you can and you're at the end of your rope, then you definitely need help.
I also believe that your marriage is in trouble when one partner is insensitive. You know, sensitivity goes a long way in helping marital relationships to grow and to bond and to be stronger. When one individual is insensitive, however, to one's feelings, insensitive to one's pain, insensitive to one's problem, or whatever it is, insensitivity can drive a dagger into the heart of the next person. So yes, the marriage is in trouble if you find a partner that is very insensitive to you.
It is the goal of all relationships to be happy, to problem solve if there are problems, to get help if you're not able to resolve the problems, but certainly not to stay in disharmony. So the challenge is that we should recognize when there is a problem and get help early.
Okay, let's look at some possible causes now. We have given you some scenarios as to what could cause a marriage to be in trouble, or when it's in trouble, when these things are happening. It's in trouble when these things are happening. What might be some of the possible causes?
I think there are myriad of causes, but among the ones I can think of are people sometimes don't take responsibility for how they are contributing to the problem. And so they point finger or they blame the other person. And if you're in a relationship where there are problems, even if the other person is directly contributing to it, chances are the way you're adjusting or not, the way you're relating, the way you respond, or the way you're communicating, there's something you're doing that's feeding that behavior. So both of you must take responsibility to resolve it. A marriage problem is not just one person's problem. It is a problem between us.
You're listening to us, and if you have a rigid mindset, that would be a problem. That's a cause for a problem in the marital relationship. You see, human beings are not static human beings. We're dynamic. The way God created us, we're dynamic human beings. We are able to change our positions, reflect, go back on, that kind of a thing. But if you are rigid, if you are inflexible, if it is just what I say, what I want, what I feel, if you have this kind of a rigid mentality, you are creating problem in the marriage.
There are times when there will be difficulties. There are times when you will say things that upset each other. There are times when you frustrate each other. But you are on the same team. Your goal is to work it through. So when you do something and you say, I'm sorry, it means it's gone. It should be a thing of the past. Let it go. But if you carry grudges and keep bringing back the past and throwing back the past in the person's face, as it were, then you are going to be an adjutant to problems.
You know, let's talk a little about unfulfilled dreams in relationships, because a lot of times individuals are frustrated in their relationship because they feel unaccomplished, they feel like their dreams are not met, their goals are not met. And how do you live with someone? How do you live with someone who is carrying these feelings where, and sometimes they think you're the cause of my unfulfilled dreams. If I had married you, I would have gone on to medical school. If I had not. And so you keep hearing this over and over. What does that do to your psychic?
It will allow you to feel like you're in a very bad place. You're not responsible for the personal choices that one makes. And so if for whatever reason being married was a hindrance to your progress, then that is something you have to work through, but not blame your partner. If there was something that your partner did that may have hindered your success, then hey, things happen. Don't allow it to destroy your relationship. Work it through. So whatever the problem is, the reality is, move on.
We're talking about when your marriage is in trouble. Some people possess what we call impulse control. They just cannot control themselves. They act on emotion, they act on impulse, they are irrational. That is destructive to a relationship.
When we have poor impulse control, it means we can't regulate our emotions. And so, yes, that becomes a real problem because we are supposed to be able to control our impulses. You get angry, but you don't act on the anger. As the Bible says, you get angry, but sin not. So while it is a natural thing for you to get upset at some things, you
have
should
to control.
You should be able to control.
The operative here is control. But there are some people who are just out of control. They break things up. They throw things around, they throw tantrum. And the funny thing about it is that sometimes there are children in the home and they're behaving this way and they don't understand that this does have an effect on children.
If you're in a relationship where there's physical abuse, that is unacceptable. Two partners, two lovers just shouldn't be behaving like that. And that's a very psychological and emotional and destructive way to live. So that is another seminar, really. But yes, those are signs that tell you there are problems and you need help.
You know, you talk about signs and needing help. When marriages are in trouble, oftentimes people feel like they can solve their problem their own. They feel it's this feeling like, if I have a toothache, I know I'm to go to the dentist. If I'm having a heartache, or a heart problem, condition, I know I'm to go to see a cardiologist. Any medical condition, I know I need to get help. But if the marriage is having problems, I can take care of it. Is that a right approach, a right attitude?
That's usually why the problem escalates or the marriage falls apart. Because many times the things that agitates isn't something that the partners are even aware of sometimes, or that they're resolving on their own. And so we do encourage that they seek help. Whether the help is from a spiritual leader or a professional counselor or somebody who is objective and is able to help you. But don't just sit back and allow your marriage to disintegrate simply because you refuse to get help, thinking it would automatically go away.
You know, well said. One can contribute to a problem in a marriage when you minimize an individual's pain. What should be the reaction? If let's together, here we are, we have been married for these many years, and we thank God for that. But we're in a marital relationship, and if I say I'm frustrated about something or I'm hurting about something, should you minimize my pain? Should you ignore it? Should you act as if, well, you're an adult, go deal with it? What should be your attitude?
I need to feel with you. It's called empathy. Put myself in your place. While I may not quite understand what you're feeling, the reality is I want to share your pain. So, no, I don't want to discount it. I don't want to minimize it. I don't want to say, oh, you're being a kid, grow up. I want to listen to what you have to say, find out what and where the pain is coming from, and help you, if I can, to get help.
What if I shut down emotionally because I want to register a protest? So I shut down emotionally. What should be your?
Unfortunately, God has not given us the power to read minds. And while we might be able to interpret nonverbals at times, the truth is, if you talk about what's going on, then your partner can assist you better. So shutting down and withdrawing is a very negative way to try to resolve a problem.
There are always problems in relationship. We're talking today about when your marriage is in trouble. There is so much we need to talk about, and there's so much we want to share with you, and we want to take into the area what to do. Perhaps your marriage is in trouble. Perhaps you are being challenged at this time. What do you do? Where do you go from here? Those are some of the issues we want to address and some of the questions we want to answer. So, in our break, make sure you stay right where you are. Don't go anywhere, because we will be right back. Families are challenged, but by God's grace, families can be helped.
There are many how-to books available, but there's one that's free and perfect for every couple: How You Can Build a Better Marriage. Bible-based matrimonial advice is given in a light-hearted, easy-to-read manner for those contemplating marriage, newlyweds, couples in their golden years, and everyone in between. Simply call or write for your free copy of this amazing little booklet, a handy little tool to help build a better marriage.
Welcome back to Marriage in God's Hands. We're talking about when your marriage is in trouble.
And yes, there are so many marriages that are in trouble. And we're here to do what we can do to help your marriage. We're encouraging you. If something is wrong, don't walk away. Try as best as you can to get help.
After all, we did pledge for better or for worst.
Now, there are some factors that can cause a marriage to be in trouble. What would you say to your listeners? What are some of these factors that...
Earlier, we talked about some of the things that creates the problems and put one in trouble. But I think in general terms, we might say there could be religious incompatibility or spiritual incompatibility. You might be of the same faith, but you're at a different level in your spiritual journey. And you're just not getting the stimulation and the encouragement and the support from your partner. You may, for example, in some homes, you might avoid having family worship. And it is important to the other partner to have it.
So that could
create a problem. Or tithe paying even.
A lot of times that creates a lot of problems in families One person believes that they should return a faithful tithe, the other person does not feel. And so there are religious factors that can create. How about social factors?
That sometimes is the major problem. The way one socializes and the way you divide your social network or integrate the social network can create a problem. For example, if you have a network of friends that isn't inclusive and your partner feels like there are secret relationships and you have divested energy from the relationship into these other friendships, then that becomes a point of pain many times.
Would this be considered a social factor too, like we call it syndrome, the Peter Pan syndrome, men who haven't grown up, men who haven't left home, that it creates a problem for the marital relationship because they're acting like boys when they should be grown-up men.
And I think the reverse can be true, where some women just don't take on the role that the mother and wife should be playing, and they act like they're little girls still playing with dolls rather than being in a real-life experience. So it could go either way.
How about economic factor?
That's probably one of the major problems that marriages have.
Issues on spending, budgeting.
The feeling of being controlled, the feeling that, you know, I work, it's my money, I can buy what I want. And so there is no budgeting, there's no organized spending. And so the resources are not tied together for the common good of the family.
And we should add to this list education factor, education as a factor, because sometimes that creates problems in the relationship. You know, it's amazing, it's strange how when two people are dating and two people are in love, that oftentimes they don't look at some of these variables, these factors that we're talking about. And so one individual might be highly educated, the next person is not, and it's no problem. But after they are married and they start having different problems in social settings where they want to go, one is not comfortable in going, then the issue of education comes into play. And one starts saying, well, yes, because you're educated, you think I'm not, and that can create a lot of havoc. So we're saying that that is something that you need to examine. The final one I think we should look at is ethnicity, ethnic factor.
There are many families who are in relationships that are blended from different cultures and different ethnic backgrounds and are doing well and are able to communicate effectively. But there are others who sometimes there are cultural nuances that creates difficulties in understanding and comprehending behavior. And it sometimes gets stereotyped or, you know, it creates trauma. So, yeah, those are sometimes issues that places a marriage in trouble.
When your marriage is in trouble, we have identified some of the factors, some of the causative factors that can make a marriage troublesome. The question that we must now ask and address is, where do you go from here? What do you do? And we want to say to you, the first step that you must take is a commitment. You both must make a commitment that you want to stay together. Now, I'm cognizant of the fact that one hand cannot clap. It takes two people to make this commitment. So we are encouraging both parties, both spouses, to make a commitment, because that's the first starting point, that you both commit that we are willing to hang in there and to work this thing through.
Now, once there's a commitment, I think the next step is to clarify what you perceive, either of you perceive, as the problem. Because what I find in listening to families or couples who have problems is one person thinks this is the problem, and then you ask the other person from your perspective, what is the problem? And they have a total different perception. So it is important that you're dealing with the same issue and that both of you are resolving the same issue, because then you could be operating on two different plates.
You know, June, one of the things I hear, and I'm sure you too, among our clients that come in for counseling, is the notion of listening. That it seems as if listening has become a long-lost art. But I hear a lot of spouses complaining that their partner does not listen, that they get frustrated and flustered when they're speaking to their partner and they're not listening to them. Do you find that to be...
I think in general, whether you're in a marriage or not, listening is a very difficult skill for people to have. We like to talk, and we just find it difficult to listen. So it's a skill, it's an art that people really have to develop. And it creates difficulties. Wives often complain, especially, my husband doesn't listen. Or if I'm speaking to him, he's watching football at the same time. Or the child who comes to talk to the parent, you know, the parent is multitasking while the child is communicating. So yes, listening can be a challenge, and that is something that's very essential if you're going to work towards a resolution.
But if that father is sitting on the couch watching his favorite sports come playoff, and you know he's into the game, and the wife comes talking to him, is it that he's not listening, or he's not hearing, he's not communicating? What's happening right there?
He isn't listening to her,
okay,
but he is communicating. He's saying, leave me alone, I'm doing what I want to do. And that, of course, pushes her away and creates other kinds of problems.
Okay, we're talking about what to do. There are problems in the relationship, what to do. Now, here we are, we want to talk about the issue. Should we talk about the person, or should we talk about the problem?
Once you both have committed that you want to stay married, and you've both decided on what the mutual problem is, then yes, you need to stay with the issue. You stay away from descriptions and adjectives about the person. You are like your father, you are such a terrible wife, whatever. You don't describe the individual. You say, when you leave my laundry undone, you know, it frustrates me because I assume I have clean clothes, and I go and there's none. So you talk about what's causing the problem and what the issue is that's the upset, but not about the two individuals.
So you're saying focus on the issue. You should also accept responsibility. One of the things that cause marital breakdown and why there are a lot of arguments and fights is that people fail to accept responsibility for what they have done. Oftentimes, spouse come in to me and they would say something like this, my spouse is never wrong. He can never admit to a wrong. As individuals, you know, the Bible says, except ye become as little children, ye cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven. That's talking about humility. So we have to be humble enough to see the part that we are playing in the marital destruction and own it, accept it. We have to accept responsibility for our behavior and for our action.
Another thing that I think is important, that each person in the conversation, in the attempt to resolve this issue, should, as we said, speak directly to the issue, but identify the concerns that you have about the dynamic that's going on, and clearly ask for what it is that you would like to be changed, so that you don't blame the other person. You're sticking to the issue, but you're also identifying remedy. What do I need from you? How can you help me feel better or act better or etc.? That's what I need. Then let me decide how I will go about doing that.
So I'm hearing you saying then that we should not just state the problem, and we should not just focus on the problem, but we should say, what changes could we implement that would help to make the situation better? So we should also have some solutions, workable solutions. We're working together. We're on the same team. So I state the problem, and I'm saying, June, I think it would be helpful to the relationship if we could. And I provide a workable solution. It's an act of compromise as we're trying to work through the solution.
And it's also providing some remedy, because the expectation is, you know, you say, oh, this is a problem, but then you're assuming the other spouse know what to do about it. So if you say, this is the problem and this is how it will be helpful, or this is what I would like or expect, then it allows the other person some leverage, and they can either negotiate the terms of how they deliver, but at least they know what you want different.
And as you continue this discussion, this dialogue of resolving the conflict, it is important for you to reaffirm your love for each other, to reaffirm your commitment to each other and your commitment to the children and to the family. That's important. So as you discuss, reaffirm and express your love for each other. That's very helpful to the process. Because, you know, sometimes you could be very upset, very mad about something, and someone say to you, you know, despite these challenges that we're going through, I still love you. And I want you to know that there's no one else outside of you except you. I don't want to go anywhere else, and so I want us to work it out. And that is like a magic to the soul. It makes you move towards the person in working on a resolution.
Absolutely. But if there is somebody else, if there is a third person in the relationship, and that's causing a problem, then you also need to be able to say, this needs to stop. I expect that you will cut this relationship off. This cannot continue. That is unacceptable, etc. So the person clearly knows you are determined to stay married and to be loyal and to be faithful.
And the converse is true too. If you really love your spouse and you want the marriage to work, you should also say, I am willing to. You understand me? It's a symbiotic relationship. So I should be able to say, I am willing to.
Now, if both of us have this conversation going and we're just not getting any place and we can't seem to help ourselves, then our recommendation
Get professional help. It is important. Get professional help. Just like how you go see the dentist, see the cardiologist, and what have you. Your marriage is important. Get professional help. On top of that, as we are working through the issue, couples must learn to start dating again. You know, some of the little things they used to do prior to, they need to inject some spark into the relationship. There's some relationship that has become lifeless. It's like they're dead, and they need to inject some spark. What are some of the little things they can do to inject spark into the relationship and spice it up?
As we said when we diagnosed the problem, that some of the issues are lack of sensitivity, lack of being responsive to the need of the other, and just a dryness to the relationship. So if you're going to spark it up, then you have to meet the needs of the other person. You have to be very touchy-feely and be responsive to the person's emotional needs.
Is there anything
Listen to them.
You've ever done for your husband to spice up?
Why don't my husband say if there was something, wouldn't that be a better way to say it?
One of the things I like that you do is that you put these little love notes in my lunch bag when I'm going to work, and I read it. Oh, honey, I love you. Have a nice day. But I really appreciate that.
So yes, thank you. So yes, there are things that you should do to re-register that I'm thinking about you, that I love you, that you're the oxygen in my life, and each other should share symbiotically.
And it is true that love covers a multitude of evil. We have been talking about when your marriage is in trouble. We have shown you the problem and what to do. We hope by God's grace you will do something about your marriage. Yes, again we will emphasize, put Jesus Christ at the heart of your marital relationship. We want you to be happy. We want your children to be happy. Remember, you must commit yourself to build stronger families against all odds. Trust in the Lord with all thine might. He will bless you.